Hi, this is Brian with HTD. This is a demo of our HTD Home Audio App. It's compatible with the MC66, MCA66, and all versions of the Link 6 and Link 12 whole house audio controllers. For this demo, we're using a Link 12. Specifically, it's a Link 12 version 3, V3. That is what we currently sell on our website. I have this one installed at home, but regardless of the whole home audio controller you're using, once you have it all set up, whenever you first open the app, this is what you see, the system status page. And as its name implies, it gives you a very quick overview of the state of every zone in your home. So again, this is a Link 12, so you see 12 zones here, and it shows you that the zone is turned on or off. It lets you know what source that zone is listening to and at what volume. You can also make changes, simple changes to the zones from this page. If I wanted to change the volume, say from 26 to increase it or decrease it, you have a range of 0 to 60. You can do that here. You can also change the source. If instead of listening to the Echo Link, I'm kind of curious what's going on in the TV, maybe I was watching that back in the bedroom and I want to hear it in the kitchen, you can make that change right here. There are also some global commands that you can execute from the system status page. That includes system mute, which is this button right up here. And you can see every zone that was powered on has now been muted. That's really great when you've got, say somebody rings the doorbell or you need to make an announcement, something like that. And you can unmute from up there. You can also power all zones on to its previous state or power all zones off. Okay, there are some additional commands available when you drill into every zone. So let's see, like here on the kitchen, once I zoom in, you can see I'm listening to the master TV. I could make that change here from my list of sources. Let's see, I'll change it this time to the turntable in Michael's room so I can hear that now. I can turn on and off. I can adjust the bass and the treble for this zone. Often this is something that you set and leave, and there's a way to turn this feature off. So once you have the kitchen set up exactly the way you want it to sound, and you don't want anybody to accidentally select one of these, you can remove these from appearing here. And then you have a slide volume here, which is nice when you're in the zone to adjust the volume as you're listening to it. But being able to adjust here with the volume number is also nice, especially though when you are in the system status page. Because after you've lived in your home for a few weeks, use this system, you will get very familiar with what an appropriate volume level is for that room. So you can make changes right here if you need to. If I decided Michael's room is a little too loud at 44, I can bring him down to, let's say, 20. Let's pause for just a moment and let's talk about audio sources. What do we mean by that? Essentially, with HTD systems, we don't care what your source is, but if you can get the audio out of it, you can plug it into our system and it can be made available to every zone in the home, independently or collectively. However you want to share that audio stream, you can. So it can be a TV, it can be a music streamer, it can be a computer stored on your media device at home, it can be an old CD player, it can be a turntable like my son likes to use. Anything that outputs audio can be connected and then shared with the rooms in your home. Now, one of the reasons we don't build in music streamers, because that is the most popular way to share music right now, is because we know music streamers are changing. They have for many years. If you look at the streamers that first came out, say 9 years ago, they're very different from the streamers we were recommending 6 years ago, which are different from the ones from just a couple years ago, which are already different from what we recommend today. So you don't want your streamer built in and then that become a limiting factor in your system's longevity. With HTD systems, you can always replace those streamers. They're very inexpensive or tend to be very inexpensive. So as something new comes out, say a few years from now, you can add it as a new audio source, or you can use it and replace one of your audio sources. One other thing to point out here is that one of the key differences between our Link system and our mid-level MC and MCA systems is that the mid-level systems require that all of your sources be connected at the central location, which is great for music streaming. It's a little more difficult than when you're trying to get the TV audio, say that's with the TV located on the other side of the house, getting that audio into your system. With Link, we make it very easy through the use of input panels to get the audio out of devices that are spread throughout your home, and they become just another source option that anybody can select in their home. That's your system status page. Now let's move on to groups and presets. Groups basically allow you to control multiple zones all at once. You create as many groups as you'd like. You can see the 3 I have here. Let's take a look at, let's say, common areas. I've got the kitchen, the patio, the playroom, craft room, and courtyard. You can see them independently, make changes here independently, but you can also group or control the group all at once. If I wanted to, let's say we want to turn everything on and select them all to the same source and move the volume up and down, but in this kind of a ratio, you can set the source. And let's say we want everybody listening to what's coming through the Sonos port. Powers on all zones, sets them all to the Sonos port. And now if I move the volume up and down, you'll see it moves in the same ratio that they were. But let's say you want to set them all to the same volume. You can do that with set volume. Let's put them all at volume 20. So you see that happen. And now you can move everything up and down together as well. That's essentially what group's on. You can turn the whole group off and back on. Okay, so this is kitchen, patio, playroom, craft room, courtyard. If you were to go back to the zones page, you'd see that those are all on and that they're all set to Sonos port. Okay, let's talk about presets. Presets allow you to set up all of the zones or any combination of zones in your home to a specific setting. Let's see, the best way to do this is just through example. So you can see the examples I've set up here. End of day is a really great one. That you can hit at the end of the day and it will turn off everything, but set it up so that the very next day, all of your zones are kind of back to a more normal listening volume and maybe the source that each of those zones prefers to listen to. So each of the kids are listening to their source, the kitchen is listening to the source we typically play in the morning, that sort of thing. Party loud, party soft, exactly what you'd think. These are only hitting the common area rooms for parties, but setting them at the volume levels we'd like and setting them all typically to a common volume. So let's go back and take a look at all the zones. I'm going to turn them all off. So you can see everything's turned off now. And I'm going to go into the preset for party soft. So this would be like a dinner party, something like that. It's only going to turn on the zones. It's only going to impact the zones that I want for this particular preset, right? And it's set them all to the volume levels that I'd like. Now, I can still go in here and control any of these at any time. And that preset is only going to impact those zones. It leaves all the other zones alone the way that they were. Let's do one more preset. Let's do game day. That's a fun one. That's typically we watch football games out on the patio. So when a good game is on, I can just hit game day and it sets the zones that I'd like to the patio TV. So when I'm walking throughout the house, I'm hearing the patio TV. You can see that the office and the craft room obviously weren't impacted by this particular preset, but these zones were. And we'll get into how you set these up here in a moment. You can see that. Okay, before I get into showing how all this gets set up, I did miss one little thing. Let me show you that. So when you're drilled down to an individual zone, I mentioned the bass and treble and the volume level. What I didn't mention was that you can mute it, just that zone from here. You can also hit party mode. That's available to all systems. What that does is that will immediately set all of the zones in your home that are not in Do Not Disturb. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. It'll set all of them to whatever source it is that you have selected here. So I'm going to select something I haven't selected. Let's say the kitchen Bluetooth. We have a Bluetooth input panel in the kitchen, so anybody can connect to it. A friend comes over, he connects up his phone, starts playing stuff, and we say, man, we want everybody in the house to hear this. So you hit party mode, it gives you a warning. This is going to turn every zone on to listen to that Bluetooth stream. You say okay, and it'll go through the process of doing it. And if you look back here now at the system status page, you'll see every zone is set to the kitchen Bluetooth and at the volume it was last listening to music at. That's pretty cool. Now you can come in here and set it to D&D. That means that anything that somebody makes a change to, let's say somebody now in Brandon's room says, well here, let's go into the main drill down. Brandon says, I don't want to listen to the kitchen TV. I want to listen to Brandon's Bluetooth. And I want everybody else in the home to listen to it. I hit party mode. It's going to turn everything to Brandon's Bluetooth. So if you come over here into zones, you're going to see they've all changed except the kitchen. Kitchen stayed at the kitchen Bluetooth because it was set to Do Not Disturb. And the only way to get it out of Do Not Disturb is to select that there. D&D mode is only available with Link systems. You won't have that there with MC or MCA. It's one of the additional features that you get with Link. Okay, so let's talk about these colorful little buttons up here. These are called shortcuts, and they allow you to quickly toggle between our app and all of these apps. These are typically the apps that you use when you're working with whole home audio. So if you wanted to use, let's say Amazon Music as an example, as your music stream, for one of your music streamers, you can come in here and select from all the Amazon Music has to offer. And then you just touch up here in the upper left corner and you're right back to our app. Similarly, let's do Spotify. That's a very common one. You can open up the Spotify app that's on your phone or tablet, use it to decide what you want to listen to, an artist, a playlist, what have you, a podcast. Select that and then go right back into the Home Audio app to decide the volume level and which zones you want to listen to that Spotify stream. Those are shortcuts. You get to pick as many as you'd like. Typically, people only have 2 or 3 up here. I'm showing 6 because that's how many you can see. You can actually do more than that, as many as you'd like. And we have about 50 or 60 of those pre-built into the app. And if your app is not included in that list, you can ask us to try to create one, or you can even create one yourself using the app, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Okay, let's get into how this gets set up. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn all the zones off just to make it easy on me. But if you go up here to the hamburger menu and you tap on it, you'll see some of your settings. And I'm going to go through each of these one by one. You also see a list of your systems. I obviously work on several, but you would see yours listed here, and it can be whatever name you've assigned it. But let's start with zone settings. You start default, these will all be named Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, etc. You can select on the name and change it both in how it appears on this particular device, this phone, this tablet, whatever. You can make them all unique if you want, and how it appears on keypads if you have them. Sometimes these are different in that on the keypad I might put, let's say on the keypad I'll put Kelly's room, my daughter's room, but on her phone I'll put my room. I'll label it my room. You can do things like that. This is also where if you have Link V3, this is not available on other systems, but if you have Link V3, you can decide what sources appear on a keypad that's connected into this zone. So if I didn't want, as an example, the master TV to show up on my daughter's keypad where she could select it, I would simply deselect it. And by doing so, her keypad now in her room will not display the master TV as a source for her to listen to. Now back here, this is where you get to decide if the zone itself appears on this phone or tablet. So let's say you have a guest and you want to set up, or let's say you want to set up a guest device And you don't want them to have access to any of the kids' rooms. You don't want them to be able to control my office for sure, or the courtyard maybe. This is where you can deselect them, and you'll see now the zone list is very shortened. That's what that is for. I do want them to appear on my phone, so I'm going to set them back. This is also where you get to set up where the bass and treble controls appear. I mentioned this earlier, that when you go into a zone, you have the option of adjusting the bass and treble. And once you get them set, you may want to leave them alone so that nobody comes in here, as I'm doing, and makes adjustments. Well, you can, in the zone settings, you can turn this on and off. So now that I've turned it off, if you now go into the kitchen, that option is not available for you to adjust. Okay, let's take a look at source settings. Very similar to zone settings in that you start with defaults of source 1, source 2, source 3, etc. But you can change them to be specific to this particular phone or tablet. And you also get to name this source for keypads. Now, keypads are somewhat limited in the number of characters that will fit on the screen. So here's an example. Kelly's Echo Dot is fine for this iPhone, but Kelly Dot is what's going to fit on a keypad. Another little something to point out is that if you name the source None with a capital N as it appears on keypads, then this source will be skipped entirely. You won't see this source available on any keypads throughout the house, which is what I want for the Master TV. I'd rather people not be able to select that. You also get to decide whether or not the source is listed at all in your list of sources. So again, you can limit the sources that appear for particular users, or as in this case, I don't have any source plugged into these source inputs, so I just deselect them so that my source list is as short as possible. Okay, that's source settings. Now let's take a look at shortcut settings. Mentioned these earlier. You can see the ones I've already set up. You have to enable the feature. So if you come here and you're like, hey, I don't see any of these, you must enable the feature. When you go to add to shortcut, you can get a list of all the shortcuts that exist in here to select. There's also make one, and there are ways to do this. We give you an overview if you'd like it, or you can skip and get right into it. Let's go ahead and skip that as if I were going to name it. You just have to add your image for your shortcut, name your shortcut, and then this is important. This is the hard piece to get, which is the shortcut URI, but you can usually get that from the manufacturer or from doing a Google search if they have one. And if they don't, we can help you with that. But this is where you select shortcuts. You can replace these. Like let's say this is the old Sonos, but let's say I want to add Apple TV instead. I just select it, and now that's up here in my list of shortcuts. Okay. Let's now look at system settings. This is information mostly for us. The system will automatically pull this in. This is basically your MAC address and your IP address on your system. We use this sometimes when we troubleshoot. This is a very nice feature, this backup and restore. This allows you to set up one device, do a backup to our cloud, it's our free cloud, and then take another device, somebody else's iPhone, and do a restore onto that. And all of your settings from this one phone will be backed up onto that phone. It'll match it perfectly. Then you can modify that one and edit it and make it unique. Very nice feature. You can do 2 profiles per phone number. So you can store, up to 2 just for this phone, up to 2 for the next phone, up to 2 for the third phone, that sort of thing. It's really nice. Lock status, that's nice. In most cases, you can leave this unlocked if you plan to make a lot of edits. But if you're setting up a kid's phone or a guest phone, you're probably going to want to lock that so they don't get into any of these settings and make changes you don't want them to make. This doorbell settings, you can skip that one because that was only available for Link V2. Clear app, this, and replace old gateway. These are buttons that we will ask you to use when you're upgrading a system or replacing your system Or maybe if you're doing some troubleshooting, we may access these buttons. All right, let's take a quick look at voice assistants. That's a very popular category lately. This is where you set that up. You're basically linking your Alexa account or Google Home account or Apple account to our app. That all happens up in the cloud so that you can use one of those platforms to control your system. And that can be with voice, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's only with voice. In fact, more often it's used to set up changes to your system based on a triggered event or a timed event, something like that. Like let's say most Monday through Friday, 7 a.m., if you turn on your TV, you want to make sure that the speakers in your master bedroom are listening to the master TV. Whereas in the afternoon, maybe you wanted to automatically switch over and start listening to the music that you're playing from your Spotify account through one of your music streamers. You can do all of that. These are very powerful, and we have great information on our website on how to set each one of these up. It's pretty simple. I'll look at Alexa as an example. You're going to enter the email address for your Amazon account, and then follow some instructions to link, again, your Amazon account to our app up in the cloud. This has all been set up with Amazon, Google Home, and Apple. Okay, let's quickly take a look at groups and presets, how you set those up. It's pretty self-explanatory, but first I'm going to start with groups. Select groups. You can see the 3 I've previously created. If you want to make a new one, click on Add Group. Let's see, give it a name. I'm going to combine the craft room and kitchen to make it quick. So we'll call it Craft Kitchen. They're pretty close by. Then you select on the zones you want included in that name. Like I said, it'll be the craft room and the kitchen. That's it. It's now done. Create group. So you can see it here, Craft Kitchen. And now you can control this. Like let's say again, we want to set them both to the same source. Let's say the Echo Link. Sets them both to Echo Link, turns them both on, and now you're controlling them as a group. Okay, that is creating a group. Presets, more powerful. Here are the ones I've created before. Let's say, oh, by the way, if you wanted to edit a group, went back to groups, you just slide a little to the left. You can delete it, or you can go in there and edit it. Very simple. It's going to be similar to what we do with presets here. So presets, let's take a look. Let's look at what end of day looks like. So I'm going to go into settings. You can see every zone is impacted. That's what this means. This is not power on or power off. In fact, here is the power on, power off. And as you can see, I have every zone set to be powered off. That's my end of day. But it also shows what source and what volume I would like that zone to be available at the next day. When somebody goes in, if they just turn the power on to the kitchen, it's going to be set to streamer 1 at volume 18. Same for any of these zones. It's a really powerful preset. If you wanted to create your own, select Add New Preset, select the zones you would like to be included in it, and decide whether or not it should be powered on or powered off, whether or not you want it to be in D&D or not, again, only if you have the link v3, and what source you would like that zone to be set to. So you create that, give it a name, let's call it test, and create preset, and now you have test. So anytime I hit test, those 3 zones are going to be impacted in the way I just set them up. Okay, those are presets, very powerful. And like I said, presets can be selected from your voice assistants. Very nice. All right, well, thank you for listening. I hope I didn't go too fast or too slow. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Our customer support is known for being amazing, and they are. We're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. We hope to hear from you.